People don't want to live in areas where there's trash this way, garbage, crackheads, needles, crack bags, cigarette butts, trash everywhere, people defecating in the streets, poop everywhere, peeing in the corners. I mean, nobody wants to see that shit. Tent cities everywhere. Nobody wants to see this. This is another setup, again, of destroying the country. People don't want to live in areas where there's trash. I'm really excited to do this episode because it's something I've actually been wanting to do probably since I started the channel, was to start to tap into historic things that happened and to bring you all some of that information, some of that knowledge. And I thought, what better way to do that right now, being that we're headed into a new election cycle, and I think it'd be good to look at our history and learn a little bit from it. And one thing I'm going to say that I've learned already, now I spent about a couple of hours, I watched a couple of the debates of Ronald Reagan and some of the other opponents, not just Jimmy Carter. And I also watched his inauguration, his first one. And, I'm learning a lot more about it. And so I wanted for us to take a look at this debate because I think it's really important, again, because we are really looking at a lot of the same topics that we're dealing with now. And so I wanted to just sort of maybe make a contrast of what was happening then and what's happening now. So, welcome to another question in the debates between our beloved Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter. So, this question, they're talking about the inner cities and, the things that has happened to Black America, right? The neighborhoods, the crime, the drugs, the layup of how these cities are. And so, we're going to get a little bit deep into that. We're going to look at video that shows us what some of these cities really looked like before, and how, if we're not careful in this climate, how we can return back to those same places. Again, with the political rule of Democrats and how they do their politics is detrimental, again, to Blacks and Black community. Actually, they're detrimental to the whole country, but I do try to focus on where we're trying to wake people up, which is the Black community. We're trying to wake up these Negroes. We're trying to wake them up. And so I've got to call them out and say it's Black and Black communities, because it is actually all over the country, and it's all over liberal states, but it's detrimental for all Americans. But I want to just put the microscope on Blacks because we're trying to wake Black people up. So we're that's what we're going to see now. So thanks for coming by, and let's go back in time to see how Ronald Reagan rules over Jimmy Carter. Let's go. Before we continue with the video, here is a brief word from the sponsor of our video. Merry Christmas and Happy New Election Year. We are proud to offer some great selections for the holiday season. Here is our All I Want for Christmas is a New President and a New First Lady design. The design comes in multiple colors and styles, t-shirts and sweatshirts. They make a great gift for any patriot or any liberal in your life. Have a little fun this Christmas and trigger a leftist. Get 30% off your purchase. We also have digital gift cards available as well. Thank you so much for your support. We need to continue to support our country, and we do that with your support. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas and God bless you.
Third question to Governor Reagan from William Hilliard.
Yes, Governor Reagan, the decline of our cities has been hastened by the continual rise in crime. strained race relations, the fall in the quality of public education, the persistence of abnormal poverty in a rich nation, and a decline in the services to the public. The signs seem to point toward a deterioration that could lead to the establishment of a permanent underclass in the cities. What specifically would you do in the next 4 years to reverse this trend?
I have been talking to a number of congressmen who have much the same idea that I have, and that is that in the inner city areas, that in cooperation with local government and with national government and using tax incentives and with cooperation with the private sector, that we have development zones. Let the local entity, the city, declare this particular area based on the standards of the percentage of people on welfare, unemployed, and so forth in that area. And then through tax incentives, induce the creation of businesses providing jobs and so forth in those areas. The elements of government through these tax incentives, for example, a business that would not have for a period of time an increase in the property tax reflecting its development of the unused property that it was making, wouldn't be any loss to the city because the city isn't getting any tax from that now. And there would simply be a delay. And on the other hand, many of the people that would then be given jobs are presently wards of the government, and it wouldn't hurt to give them a tax incentive because that wouldn't be costing government anything either. I think there are things to do in this regard. I stood in the South Bronx on the exact spot that President Carter stood on in 1977. You have to see it to believe it. It looks like a bombed out city. Great gaunt skeletons of buildings, windows smashed out, painted on one of them, unkept promises, on another despair. And this was the spot at which President Carter had promised that he was going to bring in a vast program to rebuild this department. There are this area, there are whole blocks of land that are left bare, just bulldozed down flat. And nothing has been done, and they are now charging to take tourists through there to see this terrible desolation. I talked to a man just briefly there who asked me one simple question. Do I have reason to hope that I can someday take care of my family again? Nothing has been done.
Third question to
Governor
Reagan
Reagan
from
asked
William
a very
Hilliard.
good question in reference
Yes,
to
Governor Reagan.
the inner
The
cities
decline of
and
our cities has
what
been
is
hastened
happening
by the
there.
continual rise in
And
crime,
he answers by
strained race
telling you
relations,
that
the fall in
we
the quality
need to
of public
bring
education,
businesses
persistence
into
of
these
abnormal
communities.
poverty
We need
in
to
a rich
make
nation,
these
and a
communities
decline in the
great
services to the
again
public.
by
The signs seem to point
employing
toward a
these people,
deterioration
putting
that
them
could
to
lead to
work
the
so they can
establishment
clean
of a
up their
permanent
neighborhoods, clean up their
underclass in the cities.
surroundings.
What
And if
specifically
you
would
bring
you do in the
business
next
in,
4 years
you know, people
to
will
reverse this
definitely have
trend?
pride in that. And I don't know if
I have been
this is what
talking
they
to a number of
did
congressmen
to clean up
who have
these
much
inner
the same
cities
idea that I
back
have.
then,
And that is that in the
especially
inner city
places
areas,
like New York, Harlem, the Bronx, and
in
different
cooperation with
places
local
like
government
that. But
and with national government and using
giving
tax
these
incentives
people who
and
have
with
money an
cooperation with the
incentive to
private
come into
sector,
these liberal
that
places
we have
and build
development zones.
is definitely
Let
a
the
way
local
to
entity, the
change the
city,
trajectory,
declare this particular area based on the
change
standards
the
of
course.
the percentage of people on
So
welfare, unemployed, and so
Donald Trump
forth in that area.
brought the same
And then through
idea
tax
that
incentives,
Ronald Reagan
induce
talked about
the
there
creation of businesses
as
providing jobs and
opportunity
so forth
zones.
in those areas.
And so I knew
The
some people who,
elements of
who
government
tapped into
through
the
these tax
opportunity zone
incentives.
business.
For example, a business that
And
would
they
not
did great
have for a
things in the
period of time
community.
an
Why?
increase in the
Because
property tax
they
reflecting its
did
development of
cut
the
tax,
unused
they
property
did tax
that
cuts
it was making.
for
Wouldn't be any loss to
wealthy
the city
business people
because
to
the
come
city
into
isn't getting
these
any tax
cities
from that
and
now.
put these people to
And there would
work.
simply be a delay.
And it was
and on
great
the
for
other
the
hand,
small guy who
many of the
wanted
people
to
that
do
would then be
business,
given
to
jobs
open
are
up a
presently
barber shop,
wards
to
of the
open up
government.
a
And it
whatever
wouldn't hurt to give
salon or
them a
whatever
tax
they wanted to
incentive
do.
because
They were able to do that. They were able to get
that
funding
wouldn't
and
be
do that,
costing
and they were
government
able to
anything
get
either.
kids in the
I
in
think
the
there are
system,
things to
kids
do
in the
in this
neighborhood,
regard.
or people in the
I stood in the
neighborhood
South
and give them
Bronx
jobs.
on
And
the
then
exact spot that
this went
President Carter
on
stood
an
on
even
in
bigger scale.
1977. You have
Again,
to see it to believe it. It
if
looks
you
like a
move
bombed-out
out of
city.
the way
Great
and you
gaunt
put the
skeletons of
private
buildings,
sector in
windows
place,
smashed out,
big
painted on
things
one of
can
them,
happen.
unkept
And that
promises on
happened
another
with
despair.
Donald Trump
And
in Opportunity Zone.
this was the spot at which
And
President Carter had
he
promised
just doesn't get any
that he was
credit
going to bring
for
in
doing
a
that.
vast
And that, again, is
program to
something that
rebuild
helped
this
the Negro.
department.
It
There are
helped
whole,
the black
or
people.
this area,
But they
there are
don't
whole
want to talk
blocks
about
of
Donald
land that are
Trump
left bare,
helping the black people.
just
But
bulldozed
I'm
down
glad
flat.
for Trump because
And nothing has
that
been
idea,
done,
Reagan had
and
that
they are now
idea,
charging
and
to take
Donald Trump
tourists through
took
there to
that
see
battalion
this
and
terrible
ran with it
desolation. I
in
talked to
this
a man just
time in
briefly
our
there who asked me
lifetime.
one simple
So
question.
we love
Do I have
Reagan,
reason to
and I'm
hope
praying that
that I can someday
Trump will
take care of my
continue
family again?
to do
Nothing has
these
been
things
done.
The
when he gets
third
back in,
question
to
to
take
Governor
great
Reagan
ideas like
from William Hilliard.
that Reagan had,
Yes, Governor Reagan,
opportunity
the
zones, and
decline
made them a
of our
reality
cities has
in
been
our
hastened by the
lifetime. Again,
continual
to
rise in
show
crime,
that this
strained
is
race
how you
relations,
get
the fall
people
in the
out
quality of
of
public
poverty. You
education,
move government out of
persistence
the
of
way.
abnormal poverty.
When Jimmy Carter visited this neighborhood in 1982, he called it the worst neighborhood in America. So, just right there, the worst neighborhood in America. And of course, this is the black inner city where the blacks live. And I remember when Donald Trump said that Baltimore, and I'm going to paraphrase, I can't remember how it all went, but he pretty much said it was a shithole and rat infested, drug infested, crime infested, trash everywhere infested. But Trump was called a racist and a racist and a racist, but Jimmy Carter was not. And he essentially said the same thing. This is the worst place in America, crime infested, drug infested, poverty stricken, but yet Carter was not called a racist. So it is really sad to watch these videos, these scenes, and realize that people lived here. That's what he said. And even sadder right now, it's a reminder that these neighborhoods had been the way they were before. They were good and thriving areas before Democrat politicians took over and just didn't care what happened. They let the places go into decay and along with the people. They just let them alone so they can destroy themselves. Sounds familiar? Look at what we're seeing right now in these inner cities now. We're seeing crime, looting, people smash and grabs. Stores are moving out of these cities. Is it a far stretch to say that what we're looking at right here could one day return because of these liberal, Democrat, progressive policies? Instead of pushing forward, we're actually regressing back to times like this that's in this video that you're looking at right now. It is very, very sad to say, but if these inner cities continue the way they are, this is where we're headed back to, friends. Desolate places where nothing is there, deserts, because no business wants to be there. Decent people don't want to live there. The only people that will live there is those who cannot get out. And who's that going to be? It's going to be the lower of the lower classes, which is the ghetto black, the illiterate black, the pretty much the stupid dumb dumb crackhead black. Gonna say it because that's what it is. That's who's going to end up staying there because they can't go any further. They will end up just like these people who lives out on the street. They simply don't care about where they are and what's happening. So this is where they live. And anybody decent is going to move out. This is what it was under those Democrats, and this is where we're leading to now. People don't want to live in areas where there's trash this way, garbage, crackheads, needles, crack bags, cigarette butts, trash everywhere, people defecating in the streets, poop everywhere, peeing in the corners. I mean, nobody wants to see that shit. Tent cities everywhere. Nobody wants to see this. This is another setup, again, of destroying the country.
Follow up, Mr. Hilliard.
Yes, Governor Reagan. Blacks and other non-whites are increasing in numbers in our cities. Many of them feel that they are facing a hostility from whites that prevents them from joining the economic mainstream of our society. There is racial confrontation in the schools, on jobs, and in housing as non-whites seek to reap the benefits of a free society. What do you think is the nation's future as a multiracial society?
I believe in it. I am eternally optimistic, and I happen to believe that we've made great progress from the days when I was young and when this country didn't even know it had a racial problem. I know those things can grow out of despair in an inner city, when there's hopelessness at home, lack of work, and so forth. But I believe that all of us together, and I believe the presidency is what Teddy Roosevelt said it was. It's a bully pulpit. And I think that something can be done from there, because the goal for all of us should be that one day things will be done neither because of nor in spite of any of the differences between us, ethnic differences or racial differences, whatever they may be, that we will have total equal opportunity for all people. And I would do everything I could in my power to bring that about.
I like the way he puts it, non-whites. So before it was blacks and people of color, or black and brown people, it was non-whites. So far how we've already gone, right? Non-whites. But I love Reagan's answer there. I think that, again, we should all be thriving or striving for where it is no longer anybody's color of their skin, but it's really the content of their character. And, we should be looking for a society where everything gets done for anybody. It doesn't matter what color you are, what race you are. But unfortunately, President Reagan, that's not where we are, because we are more racially divided in this country more than ever. And he said that when he was a kid, that they didn't even know they had a racial problem. And this is one of the big career moves for a lot of people in this country, especially these race hustlers. They live and thrive on division and separating people that way, and putting this person in that corner, that person in that corner, or they group everybody together, black and browns and LGBT, all of them in one box. And so it's just, there's just so much division when it comes to, everybody has their grievances, everybody has their issue, and everybody's screaming it at the top of their lungs, and yet and everybody is divided. So President Reagan would definitely be very disappointed to see that all these years later things have only gotten worse.
Mr. Hilliard, would you repeat your question for President Carter?
President Carter, the decline of our cities has been hastened by the continual rise in crime, strained race relations, the fall in the quality of public education.
When I was campaigning in 1976, everywhere I went, the mayors and local officials were in despair about the rapidly deteriorating central cities of our nation. We initiated a very fine urban renewal program, working with the mayors, the governors, and other interested officials. This has been a very successful effort. That's one of the main reasons that we've had such an increase in the number of people employed. Of the 9 million people put to work in new jobs since I've been in office, 1.3 million of those has been among black Americans, and another million among those who speak Spanish. We're now planning to continue the revitalization program with increased commitments of rapid transit, mass transit. Under the windfall profits tax, we expect to spend about $43 billion in the next 10 years to rebuild the transportation systems of our country. We also are pursuing the housing programs. We've had a 73% increase in the allotment of federal funds for improved education. These are the kinds of efforts worked on a joint basis with community leaders, particularly in the minority areas of the central cities that have been deteriorating so rapidly in the past. It's very important to us that this be done with the full involvement of minority citizens. I brought into the top levels of government, into the White House, into administrative offices of the executive branch into the judicial system. Highly qualified black and Spanish citizens and women who in the past had been excluded. I noticed that Governor Reagan said that when he was a younger man, that there was no knowledge of a racial problem in this country. Those who suffered from discrimination because of race or sex certainly knew we had a racial problem. We have gone a long way toward correcting these problems, but we still have a long way to go.
So it is the destruction of the family that had people in such dire restraints. Um, and of course, putting people to work meant getting them out of poverty. And so when they initially removed the man out of the home and left the woman there to take care of the children um, on her own, these things is really what devastated the Black population. And so Jimmy Carter, and these are their policies that did that to the Black family, that did that to the Black community. So, you can do jobs and do all of these things, but until that is fixed, it's not going to get anywhere. And that was back in 1980. The numbers are even more stagnant today. It's even worse than when Jimmy Carter made that talk right there. It's even worse today. And the population hasn't gotten any better. The Black community hasn't gotten any better. They've actually just gotten worse because of Democrat policies. So it is the destruction of the family that had people in such dire restraints. Um, and of course, putting people to work meant getting them out of poverty. And so when they initially removed the man out of the home and left the woman there to take care of the children um, on her own, these things is really what devastated the Black population.
Follow up question?
Yes, President Carter, I'd like to repeat the same follow-up to you. Blacks and other non-whites are increasing in numbers in our cities. Many of them feel that they are facing a hostility from whites that prevents them from joining the economic mainstream of our society. There is racial confrontation in the schools, on jobs, and in housing as non-whites seek to reap the benefits of a free society. What is your assessment of the nation's as a future in multiracial society?
Ours is a nation of refugees, a nation of immigrants. Almost all of our citizens came here from other lands and now have hopes which are being realized for a better life, preserving their ethnic commitments, their family structures, their religious beliefs, preserving their relationships with their relatives in foreign countries, but still forming themselves together in a very coherent society, which gives our nation its strength. In the past, those minority groups have often been excluded from participation in the affairs of government. Since I've been president, I've appointed, for instance, more than twice as many black federal judges as all previous presidents in the history of this country. I've done the same thing in the appointment of women and also Spanish-speaking Americans, to involve them in administration of government and a feeling that they belong to the societal structure that makes decisions in the judiciary and in the executive branch is a very important commitment, which I am trying to realize and will continue to do so.
So, what I just got out of that answer is that this affirmative action hire thing did not just recently start. They have been working on this for a long time. And he's saying, we've put blacks in, we've put Spanish speaking people in, how that's the way he put it. We've put all these different minorities in because of their skin color or their culture and so on, not really because they qualified, but because they wanted to put these people in so that the society could feel good about having these people in office to make decisions and be a part of the government, not really because they were qualified for it, but because they their skin color made them qualify. So again, diversity hire, How did that work out back then? And how is it working out now? It's not working out so good. Look at the press secretary, the affirmative action press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre. First, right? Failing, failing. So what I just got out of that answer is that this affirmative action hire thing did not just recently start. They have been working on this for a long time. And he's saying, you know, we've put blacks in, we've put Spanish speaking people in, how that's the way he put it. We've put all these different minorities in because of their skin color or their culture
Governor
and
Reagan,
so
you have a
on.
minute for rebuttal.
Yes, the president talks of government programs, and they have their place. But as governor, when I was at that end of the line and receiving some of these grants for government programs, I saw that so many of them were dead end. They were public employment for these people who really want to get out into the private job market where there are jobs with a future. Now, the president spoke a moment ago about that I was against the minimum wage. I wish he could have been with me when I sat with a group of teenagers who were black and who were telling me about their unemployment problems, and that it was the minimum wage that had done away with the jobs that they once could get. And indeed, every time it has increased, you will find that there is an increase in minority unemployment among young people. And therefore, I have been in favor of a separate minimum for them. With regard to the great progress that has been made with this government spending, the rate of black unemployment in Detroit, Michigan is 56%.
President Carter, you have the last word on this question.
And once again, President Reagan hits it right on the nail because, again, if you give people more and more and more social programs, which is what Jimmy Carter is saying, we need more programs, and more programs. These people there's so many programs that none of these programs really work. Not all of them, but some of them really just is redundant in reference to this person's doing the same program, but it's called a different thing. That person's doing the same thing. And there's just so many programs and there's no progress. And it becomes a free for all. And so what this one is saying, we want more programs and more programs. No, we don't need any more programs. And look at how much programs has really devastated the Black people. And once again, President Reagan hits it right on the nail because, again,
Well, it's obvious that we still have a long way to go in fully incorporating the minority groups into the mainstream of American life. We have made good progress, and there's no doubt in my mind that the commitment to unemployment compensation, the minimum wage, welfare, national health insurance, those kinds of commitments that have typified the Democratic Party since ancient history in this country's political life are a very important element of the future. In all those elements, Governor Reagan has repeatedly spoken out against them, which to me shows a very great insensitivity to giving deprived families a better chance in life. This, to me, is a very important difference between him and me in this election, and I believe the American people will judge accordingly. There is no doubt in my mind that in the downtown central cities, with the new commitment on an energy policy, with a chance to revitalize homes and to make them more fuel efficient, with a chance for a synthetic fuels program, solar power, this will give us an additional opportunity for jobs which will pay rich dividends.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now,
it's obvious that we still have a long way to go in fully incorporating the minority groups into the mainstream of American life.
Insensitive
we have made
because he
good
doesn't
progress.
want to give more
And there's no doubt in my
programs to the
mind that the
Negro,
commitment
more
to
programs
unemployment
to
compensation, the
minorities.
minimum wage, welfare,
It's
national
these
health insurance,
programs
those
that
kinds
has
of commitments
devastated
that have
the
typified
community.
the Democratic Party
Welfare.
since
Look at
ancient
us
history in
today.
this country's political
Look at
life
how, this was
are a very
1980.
important element
It
of
was
the future.
already
In
detrimental
all
then.
those elements,
Look
Governor
at where
Reagan
we are
has
today.
repeatedly
It's
spoken
even
out
worse
against them,
today.
which
And
to
if
me shows a very
anybody
great
talks about,
insensitivity
you know,
to
cutting
giving
these
deprived
programs,
families
cutting these
a better
welfares,
chance
cutting
in
these food
life.
stamps, cutting all of
This,
these
to
things.
me, is a very
Oh my God,
important
it's you're racist.
difference
You hate
between
blacks. You
him
hate blacks.
and me in this
And
election.
of course, this is
And I
what they
believe the
said about
American people
Reagan
will
back
judge
then,
accordingly.
is that, you know, he's
There is
not
no
for the
doubt in my
black man.
mind
But
that in the
let's
downtown
look at
central cities,
how
with
for the
the
black
new
man,
commitment on an energy
how that's
policy,
turned out for the black
with
people.
a
More
chance to
devastation,
revitalize homes
more
and to make them
poverty,
more fuel efficient,
more and more
with a chance for a
crime.
synthetic fuels
Again,
program, solar
eating at the
power. This
bottom
will give
of
us
the
an additional
barrel. Why?
opportunity for
Because
jobs which
the
will pay rich
government gives
dividends.
you
Thank you, gentlemen. Now for the
everything, and
fourth
the
question.
government
Well, it's
keeps
obvious that we
you
still have a long way to
in a
go in fully
box where
incorporating
you
the
can't
minority
get no
groups into
more.
the
They
mainstream
keep
of
you
American
right where they
life.
need you to be,
We have
where
made
they give you
good
enough to
progress.
keep you survive,
And
to
there's no
keep
doubt
you
in my
on the
mind that the
government
commitment to
titty.
unemployment compensation,
Right?
the minimum wage,
And Reagan
welfare,
here is
national
saying,
health
no,
insurance, those
the
kinds of
people
commitments
want to be
that have
freed from this.
typified the
The people
Democratic
want to
Party
work. The people
since
want to
ancient
advance.
history
The
in this
people want
country's
to do
political
better.
life are a
And
very
this is the
important
same
element
thing
of the
we're
future.
still
In
talking
all
today.
those elements,
I don't
Governor Reagan
understand how
has
it
repeatedly
goes
spoken out against them,
unheard.
which to me shows
When
a
you
very
look
great
at the black community
insensitivity
and what's
to
happened to it
giving
because of these
deprived
Democrat
families
policies.
a better chance in life.
When are they
This,
going to
to me,
learn?
is a very important difference
When are they
between
going to
him
learn? He's
and me
saying
in this election.
welfare is very
And I believe the
important.
American people will judge
These systems
accordingly.
is very important.
There is
And
no doubt in
Governor
my mind that in the
Reagan
downtown
is
central
very
cities,
insensitive towards.
with the
He's
new
against all of
commitment
these things.
on an energy
Yeah,
policy,
he's against all of these things
with
because he sees
a
exactly
chance to
where they're
revitalize
going.
homes and to make them more
Nowhere.
fuel
And he was
efficient,
right.
with
Look
a
at us
chance for
now,
a synthetic
2023.
fuels
Look
program,
at us
solar
now.
power.
This was
This will give us an
1980.
additional
Look at us
opportunity for
now.
jobs which will pay
If they'd
rich
listened to
dividends.
Thank you,
Reagan then,
gentlemen. Now
we
for the
would
fourth
probably
question.
be in a
Well, it's
much
obvious that we still
better
have a long way to go in
situation.
fully incorporating the
And
minority
if they
groups
don't
into the
listen now,
mainstream of American
20
life.
years from now,
We
30
have
years
made
from now, it's
good
going to
progress.
be even worse.
And there's no doubt in my mind that the commitment
When
to
are black
unemployment
people gonna wake
compensation,
up?
the minimum wage,
When are they gonna wake
welfare,
up?
national health insurance, those kinds of commitments
And stop
that have
putting in
typified the Democratic Party
Democrat
since ancient history in
psychotics.
this country's political life are a very
All
important
they
element of the
have
future.
is your
In
worst
all those
interests
elements,
at heart.
Governor Reagan has repeatedly spoken out against them,
Because they
which
put
to
you
me
in these
shows a very
programs
great
that does
insensitivity
not advance
to
you,
giving
that does not
deprived
make you better,
families
that
a
makes you
better chance in
lazy,
life.
that makes you
This, to
dependent on
me,
the
is a very
government.
important difference between
And
him
this is what they
and me
want.
in this election. And I believe the American
Black
people
and
will judge
browns,
accordingly.
or the
There is no doubt in my
unwhites,
mind
as the
that in the
gentleman
downtown
said,
central
the
cities,
unwhites,
with
to
the
be
new commitment on an
addicted
energy policy,
to the Democrat
with
Party.
a chance to revitalize homes and to make
So this was part 2 of the hour-and-a-half debate. Like I said, we're breaking it down little by little. And so this was just one segment of questions. And, you know, we got a lot of out of it. We were able to see the Bronx from 1982 and how that looked, and how Jimmy Carter said it was the worst place to live in the country. And of course, I made the comparison to our time right now, as when they called Trump a racist for essentially saying the same thing. But any event, happy that we're doing these videos. We've got to learn our history. We've got to go back and understand where we've come from so we can do better moving forward. But it seems with the Democrat Party, they don't want that. Jimmy Carter is in here praising the welfare system and how we need more and more and more of it. And what do they do today? Joe Biden is out here preaching the same thing. We need more programs, more programs, more programs. Again, for what? To continue the deep, the dissecting of the family, the dissecting of the Black community, dissecting of our people. And so again, they tell you that they're for you, but their policies show you that they're not. From 1980 to right now, when are people going to wake up and realize that, look, these people are not for us? They are not for us. How about we try something else? People in Baltimore right now are standing up and saying, no, we're not going to take this, because they're looking and seeing that right now the Democrat Party is really not for them. It's really not for them. And I hope their eyes are opening and that they're really serious about voting for other people in 2024. So any event, that's going to be it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, sharing, and subscribing. I really do appreciate everybody who comes on here. It's really motivating me to continue to do the work. I have some great new products for sale for the holiday season. We've got our All I Want for Christmas is a new president t-shirt, and All I Want for Christmas is a new First Lady t-shirt. And we also have our Trump Merry Christmas Revenge 2024 that also comes in mugs, sweatshirts, and so on. So please check out the Orlando Patriot. You get 30% off. That really helps me out with the holidays, because again, this is the job that I do here, and I need your help to continue to do that. And so again, please purchase the products, go in there. Great Christmas presents for your family, for liberals, and so on. So thank you so much again. Merry Christmas to you and yours. And I will see you in the next video. God bless you and God keep you.